Hello world, welcome to the 94th Climate Change Emergency Protest here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, USA. It is September 25th, 2020. Next week will be the 95th, and I'll be on October 2nd, 2020. Again, this is the 94th Climate Change Emergency Protest. Presently, the CO2 level is 411.5. Last year is 408.4, so basically it's running 3 points higher every year than the previous year, if not more. That's in parts per million. The significance of 411 parts per million versus 200 or 280 parts per million is that it's a static growing season when it's between 280 and 200 parts per million. If you get above that, then things start running out of control. And that's why 350.org is off the mark. You can't sustain a society. It's just a slower death sentence, slower death spiral when you're 350 parts per million versus 200 to 280. Things start running out of control just at a slower rate. So today is the Global Day of Climate Action around the world. You wouldn't know it in the United States because, as usual, there's no media coverage about it, and no one really cares. So, people. You have all these fires going on in the west, and you have the hurricanes going on in the south, and it's still not mattering to anyone. So, at what point do Americans start to realize that we're in deep trouble as far as climate change goes, and we need to take immediate action? My thinking is that Americans are knee-jerk, dog-whistling type people, and they only respond when things are in their face. So they can't think ahead, and that's a shame because this requires thinking not only 1 year ahead, but 10 years ahead, or 20 years ahead, or 30 years ahead, and being, concerned about the next future generations. And right now, Americans only care about themselves, and it seems like they're just worried about today. So many people are depressed and sad, and that's understandable because there's a lot of things happening. People know a lot more nowadays, and as far as the media coverage goes, about the things that don't matter as much. But there are a few issues that do matter, but a lot of times it's just stuff to make you upset, and it's not the overarching issue as far as climate change or the predominant issues that go on and on and on throughout society, and you know what they are. Right now there are fires in the Amazon, Africa, the West Coast, the central west of the United States. There are tropical storms and hurricanes constantly hitting the Gulf Coast area. Houston was under another foot of water, and the media treats it like it's normal everyday occurrence. And these towns are being decimated, and people are living in tents. We know someone who went down there as an electrical worker to work down there to put up power lines after huge tension lines and regular electrical poles got knocked down. They sent a big contingency of people down from Pennsylvania, and he said that people are living in cars, people are living in tents, people have left their homes and they left their pets behind. So he was like giving them their sandwiches every day for lunch, just to keep them alive. And you can't feed them all. The pets are left behind because people had to skedaddle in a hurry. And a lot of times there's no clear-headed thinking about, thinking ahead. Have your bags packed, have a get-out bag. You got to have a bug-out bag available at all times. When you live in those areas, the West Coast or anywhere, you got to have something available that you can grab and be out of there in 5 minutes or less. Sometimes you don't get much warning, as people in California have said, that the fire came over the hill and they had to go like instantly. So, are we going to be looking forward to a Christmas that never was? Are we going to looking for hurricanes in the winter in the Gulf area? Or in the Northeast? Are we going to be looking at an Arctic breakdown, whereas the Arctic doesn't really refreeze, and then next year it becomes even more horrendous? These are entirely possible and most likely to happen. You're going to have continuation of droughts in the West. La Nina's setting up, whatever that entails. It's going to be a very odd weather situation, but everything's an odd weather situation now. You have world floods around the world. You have Bangladesh under flood constantly. You have mountains falling down. If you look online, there's Kyrgyzstan. It's Kyegzstan. A whole mountain, the top, the top 20% of the mountain just fell down. I mean, it was amazing to watch and very sickening to watch. You had a Mount Blanc Glacier. Part of it, some town in Italy was evacuated because they're afraid the glacier was going to collapse into the town. And I don't know if it did, because I can't get any news anymore. It's just impossible to find. Even the fires in the west, the news isn't covering it. And you know they're still going on, but people act like nothing's happening. So if anyone from the west is listening to this, feel free to post as to what's happening in your area. And the west, I mean all the way from Colorado and the tier states to the west. So feel free to post and say what's happening. You know, this is nuts with all these trucks and cars and everything all the time. You know, Americans aren't getting it, and we're not going to get it. And California proposed all electric cars by 2035. Well, by then we won't be here. I mean, 15 years from now, can you imagine how far out of control things are going to be? It's going to be a total breakdown of government and society and manufacturing, and I'll be surprised if any humans are walking the earth by then. The way you know, this climate change is being ignored. It's willful negligence and willful ignorance. People don't want to know about it because they're too scared or whatever, and it's time to turn around and face the tiger. You know, you're going to get bit either way, so you might as well face it and deal with it. Ignorance and sticking your head in the sand won't make it go away. Pulling the blankets out of your head won't make it go away. You got to wake up. So you got the Thwaites Glacier and the Thwaites Glacier, and the Pine Island Glacier down in Antarctica, and I think that's going to become really big news. It's coming up on their summer down in Antarctica as we go into winter up here in the north. And the scary part about the Thwaites and the Pine Island glaciers, they're anchored in this seabed, which is up to 5,000 feet deep. And I said this before, but it's in danger of imminent collapse. And you know, yeah, it'll raise up sea level a foot or whatever, but that's not the significance of it all, and that's bad enough as it is. The significance of it all is that it allows other glaciers to collapse behind it. It's like someone holding back a crowd, and then that person disappears, and then all of a sudden there's nothing to hold back the crowd. And it's the same thing with the glaciers. They're going to tumble into the ocean and start sliding at a faster rate. So remember those names, Thwaites and the Pine Island glaciers. So there's an interconnectedness with everything. You have CO2, carbon dioxide, for those who don't know what CO2 is, causes more melting of the ice due to the greenhouse effect and the heating of the atmosphere. There's less of a temperature difference between the North Pole and the equator and the South Pole and the equator, and so you get a messed up jet stream. Jet stream goes all sporadic all over the place, or meanders, or slows down altogether. So it affects the growing season, and then you end up with droughts, and droughts affect more growing season. Droughts affect fires. More heat in the atmosphere leads to more water vapor in the atmosphere. Hold on, I got giant trucks coming by. Sorry about that. Hold on. Can't even hear myself talk. So this is stuff we're dealing with constantly. You know, this is just a small town, and you got these giant trucks going by. So you get the droughts, which leads to more fires, which more heat leads to more water vapor in the atmosphere, which leads to more hurricanes, and which can develop, and they can go at an exponential rate in the hurricanes in development all of a sudden overnight from a category 1 to a 3, because the jet stream is not causing any wind shear, so they can just blossom. And as I said before, eventually the United States is going to see a category 5 that'll be bordering on a 6. And there's no such thing as a category 6. So that's capable of knocking down whole towns and who knows what all. More trucks. Okay. So, you know, with the water vapor and the hurricanes and the melting of the Arctic, you get melting permafrost, which causes more CO2 to go in the atmosphere, which causes more methane hydrates to escape to the atmosphere. Methane is a greenhouse gas. In the first 2 years, it can be 162 times more potent than CO2. It's very dangerous, and it's somewhere around 20 to 80 times more potent over the next 20 years. So it's very scary. So you get the heating of the ice due to fires. You get fires in the west. So you get soot in the atmosphere. The soot settles down onto the Arctic sea ice, which causes a darkening of the Arctic ice, or the Antarctic ice, which causes more melting because the sun hits that, and the sun is no longer reflected through the albedo effect. So as you can tell, everything's interconnected. Nothing is independent of itself. Everything you do affects everything else. It's the butterfly effect, and you think you're not making a difference, but you do. So maybe dig up your lawns, quit mowing incessantly, you know, find one patch of lawn, dig it up, and then work on a second patch of lawn and dig it up. Don't put fertilizer down in your lawn. Quit trying to act like you're Gentry and Country Club, and just have a natural lawn, and then, you know, get rid of lawn to begin with. So the interconnectedness of the environment is also interconnectedness of Americans, and I'm going to get into more of a social talk here, and then you know, be done. You know, Americans are losing their humanity right now. We're in argumentative states. Man, alive. Hold on. It's an interconnectedness, and we're losing our humanity, and we're treating each other like crap because of our political stances and our thinking that our side's right and their side's horrible and monsters and everything. And, you know, you're kind of sort of right. There are no borders, though, in the United States. You know, they're artificial and man-made. So the border between Maryland and Pennsylvania, it's artificial. There's no difference between Maryland and Pennsylvania. You get these subtle shifts, such as the environment issues, but that's about it. You know, it gets to the point where these political parties, people following them, become cultish. You know, it is a cult. You got the Republicans that believe they're entirely right. You got the Democrats that believe they're entirely right. And if you look at the records of their politicians, when these commercials come on and they're saying how horrible the other guy is, they're exactly right. Both parties, both sides are horrible examples of leaders that you do not want in the White House, but this is what we're left with. In your heart of hearts, you know, if you look at the records of these two numbskulls, you know, and I'm sure you guys don't want to hear this and you're going to tune off or whatever, but I really suggest you hang in here for a minute. If you look at their two records, you know, there's no way in the past you as a person would ever have voted for a person like this. And I really mean dig down into their records. Don't just give them a pass on what they're saying right now. Look at what they've done, and you're looking at nightmarish situations. And I mean in their personal lives, in their political lives, or whatever. You know, they really are nightmares, and they're monsters. But, you know, this is where we've ended up because we've allowed the parties to control you rather than you control the parties. You know, the people that run for re-election are not the kind of people you want. These people are psychopaths and sociopaths, and they're nuts as far as their policies go. And you know, they're out of touch with reality. So you might believe that you're in line with them, but you're really not. If you look at the past you versus the you now, and what you're willing to accept, like an alcoholic, have you hit the bottom yet? In your heart of hearts, you know, America is basically the heart and soul of itself. You know, you're not the political party. You are a person who has a good heart, and I say this about the Republicans and Democrats and the Green Party and Libertarians. You have a good heart, you know, and you know, Americans are all the same, basically. We want the same thing. We want, you know, safety and a chance to raise a family, and a chance for your kids to get ahead, and to look forward to the future. Right now, that's being stolen from us due to political greed, corruption, and whatever else is going on. You can name 1,000 different things and 1,000 different psychological disorders exemplified by your politicians. You're allowing this to occur. You know, Americans have good fairness and kindness within them, and they've lost their humanity. You know, right now, if you looked in the mirror, do you hate the person that you've become? Do you really dislike what you're being forced to vote for? Are you proud of your vote? Or is your politician at the end of 4 years going to be the kind of person, and I mean once you dive into their record and what they did, and I'm going back to many, many presidents, as to what they really, really did, and quit glossing over and say this person was a god or this person did this. No, they all did horrible, horrible things, and we let it happen by losing our democracy, and in other words, not paying attention to it, not keeping a constant monitor as to what they're doing. You can't vote and then let these people get away and not pay attention to what they're doing over 4 years. You can't vote and walk away and then go back to your television. We're in an era where it's important and it's life-threatening to walk away, and not only for yourself but for your kids. So again, is this the person you would vote for and be behind? And I seriously doubt you would. My guess is that if you look at the platforms of probably the Libertarians and the Green Party, that's what most Americans are in line with, not these Democrats and the Republican parties as far as they go. The Democrat Party needs to change their platform and their ways, and so do the Republicans. And people are good people underneath, and you are the party, not the party is you, okay? You need to straighten up and think about that, and look in the mirror next time you go to do your makeup in the morning or shave, and go, is this what I really want? And is this the bottom? Is this the worst I'm going to ever vote for and be done with this? The question is when is a revolution convenient? I mean revolution by in the ballot box or whatever else means. But the ballot box is the revolution that occurs every 4 years, and that's being taken away from us. If you're being given a shit sandwich, then you're going to eat a shit sandwich. And right now there's 2 on the table, and they're telling you this is good, but it's not. And you've got to recognize that for what it is. And a revolution is never convenient. And you need to demand this change and quit, stepping aside and acting all complacent with climate change or anything else. This is all interconnected, and we're in deep trouble and peril as far as survival over the next 3 years, and definitely by 2026 I don't see how we're surviving the way things are going. Now you can change that if you choose to and mitigate the circumstances that are coming. So again, is this the bottom? Is this as low as you're willing to go, or are you willing to settle for another politician in 2 years that's even worse than these numbnuts? So keep at it, keep doing the same thing and expect change, and it's not going to happen. So that's enough of my admonition of what's going on in society. I suggest, in the future, if you want to get educated about climate change, you look at my website and Tanya's website. That is, I've got 94 videos now online, and also on YouTube. You also go to Environmental Coffee House on YouTube and on Facebook. Peter Wadham, these guys are on YouTube. Peter Wadhams, Peter Carter, Kevin Anderson. 2 really excellent ones are Paul Beckwith, a really good explainer and professor, as well as Roger Hallam with Extinction Rebellion. He's independent now, and he's also in prison right now. He's a political prisoner in England. And people need to wake up to that as well. There are people being arrested for their politics and not for what they've done. The charges they're thrown in for are BS, and these guys are political prisoners, and Roger Hallam is definitely one of them with Extinction Rebellion. So I suggest also you look at Extinction Rebellion online on YouTube. They're doing some amazing stuff in England, and they're taking sort of a hard line. I'm not sure they totally get the dire situation we're in as far as the number of years go, but it is a start, and they are trying real hard, and they put their money where their mouth is and their bodies where their mouth is. I mean, they put their bodies on the line by protesting, and these aren't ordinary protests. So I really suggest you get online and check out Extinction Rebellion. So next week's protest is number 95. That'll be on October 2nd. And I'll see you then. Bye.